Welcome to the Reseller Rising Podcast by PVP from NJ. Working full-time and reselling part-time. He talks about his entrepreneurial wins, fails, motivations, and inspirations. Here's PVP.
Hello and welcome to the Reseller Rising Podcast number 16. Thank you so much for downloading. Thank you so much for listening. And I 126%, I don't know why 126%, but I 126% appreciate your time and attention. In this episode, I'm going to be discussing my 2015 Kindle Publishing year of failure and all the things that I did wrong when it came to Kindle Publishing in 2015. How I'm hoping to turn the boat around in 2016 and try some new things. I'm also going to be talking about outsourcing and how this is my new experiment, how I'm going to be trying to outsource all the mundane tasks that I do on a day-to-day basis so that I can buy myself more time to do other things in the business, more time so I can spend on myself. And here we go. I said in the last episode that with having a full-time job, there's thankfully some income to go ahead and experiment. And I said in the last episode that I was experimenting with several different pieces of software. My new experiment moving forward is going to be outsourcing. Outsourcing the mundane tasks in my life to go ahead and give me more time to focus on my business, to go spend time with family, to get some more exercise in, things of this nature. This was inspired by a couple of recent Dave Koziel periscopes and also an interview he did with Alexander Vitkin, where the gist of it was just outsource as much as possible so that you can focus on what you want to focus on. And I've started this process. I've just recently hired someone to take my eBay pictures. I'll do the eBay listings, but just someone to go ahead and take my eBay pictures, and I'm hoping with this process to scale up the eBay business. I'm going to be in the process, by the time you probably hear this podcast, I will have already hired someone to go ahead and prepare my food 5 days of the week. Prepare food and so that I kind of, when I just get home, food's ready to go, I can just eat it. And I don't have to go about like cooking and then cleaning up and doing all this other stuff. So that's another way I'm trying to save more time. I'm going to start to pay UPS to come and pick up my FBA shipments. So that way I don't have to go ahead and I kind of do all the physical labor of loading up my hand truck and, going blocks and blocks away just to go ahead and drop off these UPS packages. Right now, most of the Kindle stuff in terms of the editing, the formatting, the rewriting, covers, content, I've already started outsourcing that. If anything, now is probably one of the first things I began outsourcing. So all that stuff is outsourced. What I would do mostly with Kindle in terms of, I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to tell you the list of all the things that I'm going to be physically doing myself when it comes to these activities. So I've already mentioned food, my eBay pictures. I've already mentioned the UPS. I'm going to start paying them just to come pick up the FBA shipments. Most Kindle activities, the podcast production. So by the time you hear this episode would have been mostly produced by a number of hands. Like, I'm of course going to be recording it, but in terms of putting it together, editing it, and all that other stuff, I'm going to go ahead and just have someone else take care of that. As well as the YouTube videos, whether it be converting the podcast into a YouTube video, or when I start producing more videos and making more videos, just give that to somebody and let them put that together for me. Now, future things I would like to definitely outsource all the things that I've mentioned before, I'm in the process of outsourcing those things now, or already on my way to outsourcing those things now. Future things that I'd like to go ahead and outsource would be someone to do the physical labor of moving my items to storage, my eBay and / Shopify items. So I have somebody taking those pictures, and now I have to list those items. I'm gonna be totally okay with that. But I would love if I had like an assistant or someone just to kind of move that stuff to the storage, and when need be, just deliver that stuff. Like I'll do the shipping and they'll go ahead and just do the labor of delivering those items. And finally, the last thing I've outsourced, and I started doing this sometime last year, of course, is the apartment cleaning. I'm not a very messy person, but just once a month, have somebody come and clean the apartment. And, I don't have to go about doing that. The two biggest websites that I'm going ahead and using for most of this outsourcing is Craigslist, to physically meet the people in a physical sense, to go ahead and do the cooking, do the eBay photography, be the person who is my runner of sorts, to go ahead and move the items to storage, and to go ahead and just deliver the items as well. So Craigslist is the website I'm using there. And for everything else in terms of the Kindle activities, podcast production, the YouTube video production, that's all, of course, on Fiverr. Just go ahead and, you kind of have a trial run with a lot of people in the beginning, and then you start slowly forming your team of the reliable people that will go ahead and, you can depend on to take care of you in the clutch when it comes to giving them these tasks and then performing them to your standards. Now, the things that I'm going to do, the things that I'm not going to outsource, that maybe some of these things I'll outsource in the future, but for right now I'm not going to be outsourcing, is the eBay and Amazon listing. I don't really feel comfortable, I'll be honest, giving someone else my login credentials to my eBay stuff or my Amazon stuff or my PayPal stuff for that matter. So that stuff I'm going to still do on my own. The blog, hopefully with all those other activities being taken care of, the blog, I want to go ahead and start updating that a whole lot more, is updating it every day, every other day. Sourcing, of course, I will never outsource that. I love to go sourcing, whether it be for FBA or eBay. The prep shipping, kind of putting the packages together and actually packing things. I'm okay with that. It puts me in a zen place, and I enjoy packing stuff. So packing the merchandise, I'm totally okay with. Packing eBay items, packing FBA shipments, I'm totally alright with that. And finally, Kindle reviews, I'll go ahead and I'll do that myself for now. And also, I guess I'm a Kindle manager now, since I'm forming this team and I'm, kind of delegating who gets what, and so I'm I guess, a Kindle manager at this point. But those are the things that I'm going to go ahead and do. All these other things that I mentioned before that I'm outsourcing, I've done every single one of those activities on my own. So, of course, like I said in the beginning, the hopes are that by outsourcing all these little tasks, that I'm going to have more time on my hands to focus on the things that I just mentioned that I will do. And I, of course, will tell you how this experiment goes. But that's that. My 2015 Kindle journey, my 2015 Kindle experience, which was marked with a lot of failures. It only netted me about $200 to $300 in my pocket for the whole year. So that figure alone, to just kind of give you an idea that I did piss poor on Kindle /ACX/CreateSpace for the year of 2015. And I wanted to talk about the mistakes that I made that caused that to happen. Now, the biggest mistake that I've made, the number one mistake that I've made when it comes to Kindle, is being inconsistent. Dalton Scott just released a video where he says that is the biggest mistake that many people make when publishing books on Kindle, and I couldn't agree more. It was my biggest mistake. Inconsistent with getting reviews, inconsistent with publishing more books, inconsistent with just monitoring the books. I just was completely inconsistent. I was very hot and cold about Kindle Publishing, and still to this day, still kind of learning what exactly Kindle Publishing is. One of the big hooks in the beginning when I was hearing about Kindle Publishing was that it's a passive income, when I definitely do not think it's a passive income. It's something that requires monitoring. Like I said before, it requires getting reviews. It requires paying close attention to if it's selling, if it's not selling, changing things around, taking things out, putting things in. So that was my number one biggest mistake when it came to Kindle Publishing. No keyword research. That's another big mistake that I made, where I just did absolutely no research. I would just kind of throw the book up there. No keyword research. Just put it up there and let it sit there and make me money. This is what I thought initially, and now I know better. Bad sales copy. I would literally just take like the introduction, a little bit of that, put down the chapters, and that's it. Didn't use any kind of HTML, any kind of sprucing up the description of the book. And my books to this day, right at this minute, still look like that. It's a slow process, but I'm going to go ahead and start fixing that and trying to beautify the sales copy, so to speak. I tried the shotgun approach, which still works to this day. The negative aspects from what people like Dave Koziel, Jason Brack, Dewan Bainey say is kind of, you're not building a brand, you're just putting out all these books you don't care about, and, how can you get excited about something you don't care about? And another big mistake that I made is I brought several courses. I brought Stefan Palarno's course, I brought the K-Business Academy course, and I didn't really implement what I was learning in those courses. I just kind of if you talk about shotgun approach with books, I kind of just took a shotgun approach about just Kindle Publishing and would just put out books just to put them out. Even PLR books. I'm a big advocate of PLR for inspiration, for bonus content, for the book themselves. I personally rewrite the PLR, make sure it passes a plagiarism scan, and then use that as the basis of my book, or my basis of my books. In the beginning, I would just actually throw out the raw PLR just like that, and just kind of slap my name on it, and use the same cover the PLR came with, use all the same content and not change it. The issue with that is when somebody else comes along and publishes that same exact book with the same exact cover and just slaps their name on it, and that was happening. And I had to go ahead and backtrack, kind of figure out exactly what I was doing. This is about the third or fourth time that I recorded this segment. I recorded this segment about a week ago, and when I recorded this segment, I was actually going to be quitting Kindle Publishing. I was going to be just throw in the towel and not do it. And reason being, I would always make a things to do list in my business in terms of, okay, I'm doing eBay, I'm doing FBA, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I would put Kindle on that list, and that would be the last thing I would always get to. And I would just get dejected, and I would end up just absolutely never getting to it, and days would pass. But moving forward, I have a new plan. I have a new course of action that I'm going to be taking when it comes to Kindle. Now, I've always found it hard to make sales in the ebook version of the Kindle book. Personally, like I said, I didn't do a lot of things right before the sales copy, the keyword research. Maybe if I beef those up, I improve those, my books will actually sell. But even doing the absolute worst job of that, my books sold a little bit on CreateSpace, but they sold decently. I sold many copies in ACX. So that just kind of, I've been watching a lot of Dave Koziel's videos. I've been in his mastermind group, his free Facebook group, and kind of just doing a lot of research, watching some of Dewan Bainey stuff, some of Jason Brack stuff, and just other random YouTubers when it came to Kindle Publishing. I think the new method I'm going to be applying just moving forward, since I've always kind of struggled with making sales in the Kindle ebook versions, I'm going to go ahead and just put all my books for free in the Kindle store, but charge for the ACX and CreateSpace versions. This way, I'm also building up the email list, and this is a whole other thing. I'm coming to find out that you can build up your email list, but you have to kind of grow and nurture it. It's not a thing where you just kind of you grew this incredible email list, so it's there. You have to go ahead and you kind of have to nurture it. You got to have to feed it. It's kind of like you got to water the plant to let it grow. If you just pay it no mind, then it'll dry up and just people will just not be interested. So this is another aspect, another topic for another time, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I was totally not going to be doing Kindle. I was just going to cut it out, but there is money to be made there. And there are different methods and different ways to approach things. And I'm going to go ahead and try this different method. Also, by making the book free, I'm actually going to be publishing the book on Nook and on iBooks. So that's exciting as well. So this is going to be my new method moving forward. I'm going to actually continue with the shotgun approach, even though it's talked down upon. But I'm okay with publishing a ton of books and getting reviews in the books and just kind of growing this other income stream, which, like I've said many times before, I've already made $1, so that's the social proof that money can be made there, but I just have not given it the time or attention that it deserves, and I'm going to be doing so moving forward.
If you like what you hear, you can support PvP by doing any of your shopping through his eBay or Amazon banners on his blog at www.pvpfromnj.com, or click the links in the show notes of this podcast. Do all your shopping through these links at no extra cost to you. Your support is deeply appreciated.
As we're winding down this episode of the Reseller Rising podcast, just wanted to give you, the listener, the biggest shout out. Wanted to give you guys the biggest big up and just say thank you so much. This show has just reached over 1,000 downloads, over 1,000 DLs. Who would have ever thought of that? I never expected anything to come of this in my wildest of dreams, but I'm doing the bowing motion right now to you guys. Thank you so very much. Over 1,000 downloads. That's a huge milestone for some schmendrick from Washington Heights, NYC, to come up and do the podcast. And you make all these expectations of things, but then when things happen, it's crazy. So just a big shout out to you guys. Big ups all day long to you guys. Thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. I'm talking about the scraping the bottom, the very belly bottom of my heart, and thanking you so much for the support. Continue with this ride, and I hope that, as always, this information finds you in a good place. Keep making that popcorn pop, and God bless.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, rate, and review. Visit pvpfromnj.com for more. Keep making that popcorn pop.